Porsche Exchange, it's all about creating a legendary ownership experience that embodies our guests' lifestyle. Our Porsche service team utilizes cutting-edge technology that delivers a transparent service visit and keeps us in constant contact with our guests. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to work on your Porsche, new or classic, than our Porsche certified technicians. Whether you're a longtime guest or new to our dealership, I welcome you to experience legendary at the Porsche Exchange. If you're a Porsche owner looking for reliable, convenient service without leaving the comfort of your home or office, look no further and take advantage of the Exchange at Home complimentary pickup and drop-off service exclusively at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park.
The GT3Rs make their return in Series 10 with a Belgian showdown on tap here in Francorchamps, Belgium. Live from Spa Circuit Francorchamps here on Podium Esports, we welcome you to PCA Sim Racing Series 10 and the Pro Class live here with the GT3Rs on tap once more. My name is Kenneth Bueno. Joined alongside me is Michael Johnson in the broadcast booth. Cameron Albert on social media. Ryan Bauer producing all the shots you're seeing this evening. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. A lot of things in contention for this race from Spa. Before we get to all of that and the details of what to expect tonight, we will remind you that Series 10 is brought to you by the Porsche Exchange, which has been family owned and operated for over 40 years. Located on the North Shore of Chicago, the Porsche Exchange has grown to be the largest volume Porsche dealer in the entire Midwest. Along the way, they've won the Porsche Premier Dealership Award for many years in a row and has been chosen to be one of the few Porsche exclusive manufacturer dealerships in the entire country. To find out more, visit forporsche.com or follow their Instagram page at Porsche Exchange. Also to note, Six Sigma Sim Racing is proud to announce the Season 10 Clean Driver Award. One driver in each PCA Sim Racing class will win a Six Sigma Sim Racing $250 merchandise gift certificate. This goes to whoever earns the fewest incident points and license penalty points from their best 6 races of the season. For more information, you can head to sixsigmasimracing.com. Let's bring in Michael Johnson here to talk about Circuit de Spa Francorchamps. This track has a lot of straights, a lot of interesting corners, a lot of momentum corners as well. That's going to be a challenge for these guys as they bring the GT3Rs here in the Belgian Alps.
Oh, it's going to be one heck of a challenge, which is why, as frequent watchers will know, this is my favorite course in the entire world. Every time we come here, whether it be in real life or on the sim or even broadcasting for either of those, I always mention this is my favorite course. Why? It's got everything. You've got just hold on with white knuckles going through Eau Rouge and Radillon. You've got high speed down at the end of the Kemmel Straight, bringing it way down to make it through Les Combes and through Malmedy, heading down towards Rivage, sometimes called Bruxelles. And then that double left at Puhan. You are going downhill. Everything feels off camber. You're certain the car is going to spin, and then all of a sudden it all comes back together, and you get into this little tight, twisty technical section as you come out of Stavelo and then head down towards Blanchimont, and then you got the bus stop. So this thing, it's crazy. It's 4.35 miles of absolute bonkers. It's about 7 kilometers long, and just there's surprises everywhere. You are not going to believe. If you watched last night's race, you think it was nuts. Wait till you see tonight. It's going to just completely trump that.
Yeah, tonight's going to be wild. And remember last night's race, there was a last lap pass for the win in those final corners. It was an unbelievable way to showcase PCA Sim Racing and all that it offers. Let's take a look at the points here in this Pro class. Trace Drawhorn has the most points at 385, but they're Wyatt Good and Michael not too far behind in the same ranks. Two of them have been some of the best drivers all season long. We've got Rafael Almarim not too far behind. He's put up a couple of great races this season. Christopher Pais, Justin Sang, so many names that we've seen over the season that have performed very well, but obviously Drawhorn and Gooden, the two tight ends, and we're going to see if they'll clash together here at Spa and how that's going to fare out.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good time to see who really has the all-arounder here. That's just something this track brings. My money, well, I don't know. I'd have to put an equal bet on Trey and on Wyatt because they're both absolutely fantastic. But hey, don't count out guys like Gregorado and Chris Pides. I mean, Chris, I've raced many times with Chris. He's a super fair, super fast, super fun guy to race with. So I never put anything beyond him because I think he's pretty capable of winning this one as well.
Here's Justin saying, putting in a qualifying time. You're right, so many names that could easily put up here to Drawhorn and Gooden, who, by the way, finished 1-2 the last time we raced, and right now they're sitting 1-2 on the practice and qualifying charts as well. We're getting about 3 or so minutes before we officially close down qualifying, but here looking from Justin Sang's Golden Gate Region car, Michael, you can really see the corners and how they can really throw you off and what challenges you are really facing throughout this track. I can't quite pronounce French all too well because I'm not necessarily good at French, by all means necessary, but you just look at each one of the corners. Each of them has a different feel to them, and each of them poses a different, unique challenge that you really have to get over. And these three GT3Rs are definitely no slouch. Very interesting, fun cars, but pretty difficult to drive as well.
Yeah, now one interesting thing is we have this fixed setup for these guys. So, like when I do a race here in iRacing or in real life, we spend a lot of time getting the dampers just right, so we can hit the curbs just the right way. So, you know, it's tough. And one thing about this track, when you're stuck with not exactly the right damper setup for you, the way you like to drive, is you end up getting incident points. Incident points are huge here. We watched last night. There was one person that we saw had 0 incident points, which is just crazy. That never happens. But then the 2 guys that we were watching at the end, just completely battling it out for first and second. One of them had, I think, 14, and the other had 12 by the end. So it was crazy. And you only get 17 before you get a drive-through. And then every 5 thereafter, you get another drive-through. And then eventually disqualified at 25. So it's going to be tough, especially with as hard as these guys drive, because those incident points come up out of nowhere. As we watch Jesse Lyon going through La Source there, getting about as far out as you can get. He was right at the edge. So this is a beautiful setup as he comes down here. He's heading into, as we switch over to Garrett Taylor, this is going to be difficult for Jesse Lyons as he watches his way coming up through Radillon. So yeah, good idea to get off track if you're doing that.
Yeah, it could be really easy here because obviously you have a lot of runoff. That's a lot of asphalt. It can kind of decept you in a little bit, or deceive you rather, where you're going off track and you think, oh, I'll be fine. All of a sudden you look at the top of your screen and you see a 1X across the line, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, these start to build up quickly, and especially through Eau Rouge when you're carrying so much speed. If we see side-by-side action through there, or even some single-file action, could be very easy for drivers to go off track, and that will be some of the biggest factor that we'll see throughout this entire race from Spa. Let's take things trackside, go for your starting grid, see exactly where everybody will line up at the drop of the green. We have a standing start this evening for 60 minutes. Lee Peterson sets up the fastest time, 2:17.265. Will be the first to see the green with Barney the Flagman. Wyatt Gooden not too far behind in second. Third, we go to the number 188 of Justin Sang. Chase Drawhorn, the points leader. A little bit of work he needs to do from P4 on the grid. Jesse Lyons, last driver inside the top 5 before you find Chris Pais in the 14. The 529 of Garrett Taylor to start 7th. 8th will go to Derek Cyphers in the 95. Matthew Siddall in the 55 will be 9th. And Dave Craig, Michael Johnson in the 996 rounds up the top 10.
Looks like in P11 we've got Chris Brown. Nick Paciolo takes in P12. Thomas Briggs in 13th. 14th is going to be Enrico Gregorado. Mark Nister, and then Nick Melarango. I won't stumble over that all night, I promise. Ryan Cowley, Andy Jinks, James Franznick, Dale Green. That's your top 20. And then our last 3, Patty Patterson, Rich Minkler, and Robert Rose.
23 cars strong here from circuit to Spa-Francorchamps, and there are all the drivers lined up behind the line right before Eau Rouge. It's certainly pretty much a detrimenting sight, kind of an intimidating one as well, Michael, where you look at the ride up the hill, and while you're not going full song up through Eau Rouge, you're going to see at the next lap just how crazy things get. And as soon as they charge for the next corner in line, and Radillon and Camel straight into the Lacombes, it's really going to be a lot of fun. Drivers are still lining up, going to wait for that green flag, but Lee Peterson, Michael, fantastic qualifying effort, and I think he's going to love to see the clean air on this first lap through Eau Rouge.
Yeah, he just pipped it right there at the end, was able to get around Wyatt, but the difficulty these two maybe 4 rows at the front are going to have is they are wanting for speed when they get down to the end. The guys at the back have a much stronger run as they make it up through there, so you're going to see a lot of action as they head down towards Lacombe.
Looks like we have some connectivity issues for James Franznick, who unfortunately fell out of the session due to packet loss. Revs are up. Green flag expected. 27 laps it appears we'll have in a 60-minute feature for the PCA Sim Racing Series 10 Pro Class. And already up through our Rouge, moving through the gears. Leif Peterson has control of the lead. Bit of side-by-side action around the top 10, but it looks like not at full speed, Michael. You can easily get through their side-by-side without a problem. But as they head through Lacombe, is going to be the next couple of corners. Next up on the line, no time wasted for Wyatt Gooden to look for the lead.
Yeah, Wyatt got a much better launch out of there, and looks like he's going to get around Leif Peterson. Is it going to be a twofer, though? Oh, Leif goes around, gets slick contact from our P3. Oh, and more contact. Looks like it's going to be a little bit of a mess. The entire field is going to have to go by as these two try to work their way back onto the track. But let's head back up to the front, take a look at Wyatt Gooden, who is holding on to the lead. Got quite a gap there. So back from him, it is looking like about 1.5 seconds. So Wyatt Gooden, in true Wyatt Gooden form, is just blazing away.
And you saw that contact between Peterson and Justin Sang, and they also caught up the 115 of Jesse Lyon in it as well. The car who started in P5, now basically dead last in 22nd. That is easily let Wyatt Gooden pull away with the lead by about almost 2 seconds. Trey Drawhorn, the driver who is your points leader going into this race, now sitting in P2. Chris Pius and Garrett Taylor now scuffling for third. It appears everybody on this first lap, Michael, looking for single file. Just going to wait for things to settle out. We will give you that replay of the incident going through Lacombes and up to Malmedy, but I think that was the best sign, Michael, if you're Wyatt Gooden. You see those two make contact, you've already got the lead, and you're like, all right, let me just run away from the field right quick.
Yeah, what we're looking at right here is Wyatt Gooden just probably giggling his butt off. He's got Trey about 2.25, 2.5 seconds behind him. Then you got Chris Pies, Garrett Taylor, and Derek Cyphers all in a very tight little battle there as we watch them going through what is normally the last corner. But remember, this race, we're using the different start point. So La Source, which you see going through right now, is now the final corner. So Formula One fans used to La Source being turn 1. It is now turn 19, 20, somewhere around there.
Yeah, turn 19. And it's really interesting to see the difference in a corner. Here's a look at the replay. Contact between, again, Leif Peterson and Justin Sang. Watch Peterson here, your pole sitter. Led him through Rouge. There came Wyatt Gooden on the outside. No problem until this second turn here on the chicane. The left-hander, him and Sang just make just a tiny bit of contact, and there's Jesse Lyon in the 115. Doesn't make that much contact, so not necessarily the worst hit for either driver. It's just obviously track position, Michael, can mean so much at a track like this that's as big as it is. It's 4.35 miles. You have a mistake like that, you drop to the back of the field, and you're playing catch-up for the rest of the night, because as everybody fans out and as this race progresses under green, there's just not much you can do apart from maybe some strategy. But even then, that's a really big uphill battle as there's a look on board with Lyon.
Yeah, as we saw in Lyon there, there was not much space for him to move. There were just too many cars. Opening lap like that, you've got a lot of 2 wide, even 3 wide is not unusual once you get up into Malmedy and Lacombe. So I don't blame him for that contact, the initial contact. It'll be interesting to see what the race stewards decide on that, but we'll keep an eye on that and keep you guys posted.
Looks like no official decision by race control. It appears to be just a racing incident between those two. No intent, obviously, by either of them. They were just trying to get through the chicane without a problem. So race control, no decision. We're going to keep ourselves racing with no penalties on the racetrack. That's good news. Here's a battle further up through the field from the back of the field that we were just looking at after that replay. Chris Brown looking on Matthew Siddall, the Northeast Region car that started back in 11th, already up to P8. And you'll get a good look here, Michael, as the many ways you can make passes here at Spa-Francorchamps. You see a lot of straightaways, a lot of flowing corners. You could really take use of the mistakes of drivers in front of you, or just take the draft off of them and make passes into hard braking zones. This time Brown, no challenge for 7th.
Yeah, speaking of opportunities to pass, that right there would be a great opportunity had he only been just a tiny bit closer. That that was just a little bit too much distance between him and the car in front. Next time, if he goes off like that, I can guarantee you a pass will be attempted.
And you did see Matthew Siddall get a little bit loose on that left-hander prior to the final chicane. It looks like no problem there. That was through Branchemont that Siddall had a problem. Also to note from race control, we do have word that Leif Peterson, it looks like he is caused for the fault of the incident, and he is black flagged. So Peterson already ducking to the pit lane. He's got some severe rear end damage. That 913 has gone from the pole, Michael Johnson, to the back of the field in just about a lap or so. A very, very tough break, and it's hard to see.
Yeah, it's tough when something like that happens, and you have to take your licks and go with it. Leif's a very good driver. I've talked to him many times, driven with him a few times. Ooh, a little more contact there, I think. That would be Gregorado trying to get around there, but fortunately no displacement, I should say, like we saw in the Peterson incident. So a little bit of contact like that, generally, water off a duck's back, let's keep going. But where another car gets displaced, somebody gets turned around, that, yeah, you're going to definitely see some action from the race stewards.
So really tough there for Peterson, who's going to try and pick things back up for the rest of this race. It appears Peterson's still in his stall, so might just go a lap down if he stays there with Wyatt Gooden and the rest of the leaders pulling through the rest of this circuit. Nice pack developing. We're on the mid-pack here. See them getting through one of the chicanes here. Looks like this all starts with Patty Patterson in the number 29. And Patterson doing a nice job of defending against Enrico Gregorado. Gregorado came home in 5th. Last time we raced in the pro class, Michael, that was at Suzuka. Race that Trey Gallhorn went to victory lane, and nice pickup by Jesse Lyon. Of course, we saw him drop to the rear of the field. Now up to 19th, right behind Andy Jenks.
Yeah, Suzuka is another one of those tracks. Very similar in feel. It doesn't look similar, but it definitely feels similar because you got those long straightaways, you've got sweeping corners, you got super tight sections, but different continent, different, a lot of different stuff. And that right there, what we're seeing is the result of that red car. I didn't identify who it was, but there was a spin. That would be Justin Sang. Thank you. Our producer brings up the Chiron, helps me out a bit there. But Justin Sang had a spin just before that and is trying to get back into the groove, but losing some positions just because, hey, once you spin, well, that's probably going to happen. Let's take a look at a replay.
And that was off of Blanchimont as well. Justin Sang, second incident of the night. Remember that contact with Justin Peterson in Lacombe, lap number 1. And right there, the car just loses grip on the rear end. And that's something that you really have to watch for, Michael. It can be really interesting just how the car can creep up on you in a matter of seconds. And there's a big avoidance by Nick Melorano, the Dunkin' Donuts GT3R, heading into the final chicane. But especially in that corner, you're carrying so much speed. The car, it feels like it could have all the grip in the world, and then it just snaps. For Justin Sang, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it's usually just, if anything at all, it's a little bit of a lift. It's hard to say with a fixed setup like these guys are running today, but usually what you'll do is you'll come in there if you have a fixed setup, and you'll just give like a quarter lift, a half lift, to put a little bit of weight on the nose, and then you want to immediately move it back to the back. He may have just gotten a little too quick onto that throttle and kicked the rear end out, which it sounds weird that it happens at 150, 160 miles an hour, but, well, yeah, it absolutely does.
And it's also really hard to just get that car back righted. As soon as it's sideways, especially with these GT3Rs, the way they're built, it can be really tough to save them. And for Sang, unfortunately, he finds himself on the wrong end of that situation. Here's Dave Craig for the Keystone region, started in P10. And so far, Craig has just been hanging around P15 right now in this long train, like we said, led by Patty Patterson, who's sitting 12th. And right now, still catching Enrico Gregorado. Dave Craig also sitting in front of Jesse Lyon, who continues his work up through the field after being back in the field with that incident on lap number 1. And so Craig doing all that he can to hold his position right now. Finished in the top 10 at Suzuka just not too long ago. In race number 3, a big moment by Jesse Lyon through Blanchimont. Almost got the car sideways as there was almost side-by-side action around where Patty Patterson was. There's a car around, and it's Andy Jenks.
Yeah, Andy Jenks probably suffered the same fate as we saw just prior to this. Let's take a look at the replay as he works his way into here, tries to get the nose down, coming right here. and then back to the throttle. Yeah, it looks like he's off the apex a good bit. He's got about a half a car width off that apex, and that is not the place to be. There's no traction out there, so that right rear tire is going to not hook up, and as soon as you go to throttle, the rear end's just going to slide right around.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to Sang, as there's a look back at Wyatt Gooden, who's opened the lead gap up to 3.6 seconds and counting. Drawhorn has had no response, and there he is in the 395 out of the Chicago region. Now, again, both of these drivers, Michael Johnson, are tied for the points lead here in Series 10 in the Pro class, so both of them have been the class of the field. I guess I should make a little pun there, but if you're Drawhorn here, you're looking at Gooden kind of pulling away, setting faster laps. Is there anything that you're trying to change behind the wheel, or are you just going to say, all right, fine, you'll pull away, I'll let you get a little comfortable, and maybe I'll just get a little comfortable myself before trying to pull the trigger and make a move?
I think the smart move at this point is to wait for traffic and expect that you, whichever you happens to be, are going to be better in the traffic, and you're going to have better luck moving through traffic. Sometimes traffic is based on luck. Usually you can predict what goes on. I would expect here in the Pro class that we're going to see some very good traffic management, but it does slow you down. So Wyatt's a good guy in traffic, but honestly, so is Trey. I've watched Trey on a couple of races and commented in the post-race interview that he was an absolute master in traffic, and he really does a good job. So we'll see how this plays out, and it'll probably come down to how they do the pit stop and how they manage traffic.
And for Trey Drawhorn, remember the poor finish at VIR in race number 2, where he came home 28th. It was an absolute struggle, but ever since then, of course, Suzuka was the big rebound, and tonight at Spa, it's only just going to build up off of the momentum he gained from not too long ago to get here into Spa with a head of steam. Here's Jesse Lyon continuing the progression through the field, getting very close with Enrico Gregorato there going through the final chicane. We'll have the line and almost contact made between the two. Lyon will back off, and so we'll try next time by through what's going to be La Source, the final corner here at Spa. And I want to touch back on the shift of the line and the way they run this layout here, because like you said, in F1 or usually in most other iRacing series or real life series, that corner La Source is turn 1, but here it's the last corner, turn 19. How big of a difference does that make in terms of setup for passes? Because it's such a hard braking zone, you could really make a pass there, and the line is just before Eau Rouge.
Well, it doesn't make too much of a difference, and what you saw Lyon do there, backing out of that, absolutely brilliant. It doesn't matter that he passes first on lap, what are we on, 6. He doesn't need to cross the finish line first on this lap. The only one he needs to do that on is the final one. So he needed to set himself up so that he would be behind him at La Source and be able to make the run down the Kemmel Straight. Now this time he didn't quite get around him, and right now we are on board with Paddy Patterson, who is also having a bit of a battle with Enrico Gregorato, which is happening right in front of Jesse Lyon. So this is a good three-way battle here. If we watch these guys, it's getting really, really tight. I see Jesse Lyon is down under 0.2 of a second, getting his nose up underneath as they go into Pujol. Some know this as double gauche, same corner, but it looks like he's made it. He is around Paddy Patterson. This is going to be a twofer, though. This is going to be a twofer. Is Dave Craig going to make it? Yes. Oh, no. It's a yes and no. It goes back and forth. Enrico Gregorato able to hold on to the position over Dave Craig, but Jesse Lyon does get through.
And they clipped the gravel. Both of them did. Gregorato and Craig going through that corner as Lyons pushes through to 14. So that pace continuing to escalate here, and one of the fastest out of this entire group. Saw a great battle between Gregorato and Lyon, and now Paddy Patterson might be under fire as we saw Rich Minkler get around that number 29 machine. Further up the road, there's a look at Lyon trying to work on Patterson, and just even the presence that Lyon has put up, and now going through the final chicane, will have a dive on the brakes underneath Patterson. This is going to be for P13 on the track. We'll back out on the final corner. I think we'll have the space, though, before they get to La Source. And what a run it's been for Jesse Lyon so far, Michael. And even though there's been some places where he hasn't been on the inside or outside officially, him just being behind the driver makes a statement in its own right. Just saying, hey, I'm here. I will take advantage of you no matter what. Whenever you make a mistake, looks like Paddy Patterson will fall 2 spots short. Gregorato now on the inside going to Eau Rouge.
Yeah, going into our Rouge too wide, this is going to take some major intestinal fortitude. Can these guys make it all the way through? Looks like Gregorado is going to back out of it, and he's getting attacked right now. That's going to be Dave Craig coming back through. Dave Craig wants to make this pass. He's in the better position. He's got the draft from that car in front of him. That's going to be Patty Patterson, giving him just that extra 1 to 1.5 miles per hour. But is Gregorado close enough to hold on to this? Nope, he's not going to be able to quite get under there. And then right behind him, Justin Sang is looking to work his way also through this little pack. So we've got Justin Sang, who was part of that lap 1 incident, as well as Lyon, who has already made his way through. So I think these guys are pretty aware that these guys had a really good qualifying time and are just blazing. They're definitely watching their rear to make sure they're not going to get in their way. But also remember, we mentioned this before, these guys, these three that we're watching, they have a race going on. So you can't just say, well, I was up in the top 5, so you have to let me through. It's not how it works. They got a race going on. You got to let them race. You have to work your way through them if you're fast enough.
Yeah, that's true, and that could be the largest challenge when they're taking up space on the track and when they're trying to play defense, because obviously everybody wants points for their own. They want to have the best position possible given the situation that they have, and we've seen this battle turn from 1 car to 2 cars to 3 cars, and now at max 4 cars in a single train. We'll look to Chris Pais, who's now running at the tail end of the podium, but we might have a battle within this group as well. 3 or 4 cars are packing in the draft, and I think that's what's been magical so far. At least what I've noticed, Michael, about this race from Spa is that you can't get away from a fight. The draft will reel everybody in, and Derek Cypher's looking on Pais, and then Garrett Taylor and company behind them also looking for the charge.
Yeah, and it really depends on how well you're getting off the corner here. I've come through here many, many times and had somebody just coast right up to me because they were in the draft. But when we came out of the corner, I had a better exit, and I was able to just put the power down a little bit better and get away from them. So you really have to watch, especially if you're the one trying to defend that position. You've really got to watch how you put that power down.
So watch this long single file train. This is Chris Brown and the number 258 rather. Just getting around with Thomas Briggs. Matthew Siddall right in front of him. This little sandwich around P6. Meanwhile, side-by-side action. Gregorado with the move, and they might almost be 3 wide. Gregorado, though, is just going to let these drivers through. And Justin Sang's going to gain a position. That'll be 16th, so a move down the Kemmel Straight. Gregorado instead of a gain. That's a loss, and there's Dave Craig working on Patty Patterson for 14th.
Yeah, that's a battle that's going to definitely keep going back and forth. But I want to go up and take a look at Nistor on, well, actually, this is still a really good race going on here. But there's another one that I want to keep an eye on kind of out of the side view while we watch this. So we've got Nistor, who is working on Nick Facciolo. So here we are on board with Mark Nistor. He is really closing it up under these little twisty sections every time we come in here. Once we get back towards the pit lane, though, it looks like Nick is able to open it up and get a really good run out of La Source. So he's opening that up, and then Nistor has to really do everything he can to stick right in the draft perfectly and hold it all the way down the Kemmel Straight, and then work it all the way back to try to catch up. Once they get through here, once we watch them here, they're going through looks like Blanchimont, and then we're going to come back around. Yep, good run through Blanchimont, heavy into the braking zone here. Let's see if he tries to take this opportunity. Nope, going to hold back and probably try it in a lap or two, because he does keep closing this up tighter.
And Nistor is putting up some solid laps, and they were almost even the last time they crossed the line. We'll see how it fares this time through, but the last time it was a 2:19.201 for Facciolo, a 2:19.268 from Mark Nistor. Both of them have been on level playing field, and they've got a couple of cars around them as well. Ryan Cowley not too far away from this fight. Might also join the fray if these two make some mistakes, but moving through La Source and heading for Eau Rouge. And here's a nice look at the entire field, where they are in retrospect of each other. A little nice data point to see where Gooden is ahead of the rest of the field, and those are all the gaps that are shown right here in PCA Sim Racing Series 10 in the Pro Class here from Circuit de Spa. Francorchamps, beautiful sight. Now we look at the inside pass for Matthew Siddall, trying to make a move here on Garrett Taylor through Lacombe.
Ooh, nice try. Good defensive position as he went through the corner. He didn't defend before he got to the corner, which kind of surprised me. But Matthew Siddall is not going to take this lying down. He's going to really try to stick right up underneath the wing there and just pressure, pressure, pressure. Pressure and pester. That's what I like to see from that position. But you can do that from either side. You can be the car in front and pester the guy behind you who's trying to get around you. When they say, oh man, I can't believe how wide he made that car. That's pestering. So we'll see how that one works out. I expect to see a little bit of pestering from both sides there.
Yeah, both of them going to try to bother each other as much as possible, and that really could set the stage up for the passes here at Circuit the Spa-Francorchamps, where you can pressure a driver throughout the entire course, and while they may be better in some places, you can try and rebound in another sector, and then all of a sudden you've got draft on them. So here's Justin Sang, a pass potentially here on Robert Rose. This is for 17th, and Sang, remember, fell back with that incident after starting in 3rd, and for the driver right behind Robert Rose started back in 23rd and has been up 5 spots since the drop of the green and up to P18. Look up the road. There is Jesse Lyon, another driver on the chopping block. Michael Johnson. Jesse does not stop lap after lap, looking on Rich Minkler for 12th.
Yeah, he's doing kind of front to back to front maybe here. But wow, he is really sitting up underneath the wing. That was almost contact when we switched over to this. Very, very tight, but Jesse Lyon's good on the brakes, keeping out of it. But right here, I don't think he's going to try to make the pass here. I think once they get to La Source, he wants to be as close as he can get without actually making contact. And looking out the front window here, going up to 4th gear, almost to 5th gear, and switching, and then hard on the brakes. Comes down, tries to get the car. Look at how he beautifully apexes that. I think from here we're going to see a pass. These guys are not that far apart. It's just about 4/10. I expect by the time we get halfway down Kemmel Street, these guys are going to be side by side.
And it's almost a 0.3 of a second difference that last time by between Lyon and Rich Minkler. So Lyon is there. He's putting on the pressure. All he needs to do is just complete this pass. Lyon finished in P4 at Suzuka not too long ago, and currently in our point standings sits P6. So a really good show out through this Series 10 season for the Yellowstone region driver, who has really picked up a lot of decent points throughout Race 1 Road America, Race 2 VIR, and then of course Suzuka, like we mentioned a little earlier on. In Lyon only continuing to gain positions here at lap 10. Rich Minkler still looking in that rear view mirror, heading down the hill. Lyon is there. It's just Michael all about that setup, and Lyon has been a masterclass driver at doing just that, setting up the driver in front, teeing up the shot, and then going forward.
Yeah, Lyon, he is working his way back up here. He just got caught out. I think he was maybe a 10th or so too far back from his rival here to try to make the pass. This time coming through, though, I expect as they come out of La Source, he's going to have it about a tenth and a half closer, and this time he should be able to make the pass. But going back up, I want to stick here, because I was about to go back up and take a look at that Mr. Fasciolo fight that was going on. But wow, look at this. He is just getting wiggly out there. He is pushing the car to the absolute limit, trying to get around. This is a difficult spot for him, though. I'm surprised he's trying to make the pass here, but I guess he's figuring he's getting slowed down too much and wants to try to keep it going. He's going to go around the outside on the entry to Blanchimont. There had to be a little bit of talking there. These guys had to know that pass was going to happen, because that's a dangerous pass to make. That one right there is very tough. But now if we can go back up to, let's take a look at Siddall here. Siddall coming through La Source. He is super tight up on here. He is looking at the tail end of Garrett Taylor. These guys are tight. There is only about a tenth and a half here, and we're about to see the same kind of setup that we saw before as they work their way down the straightaway. Now, this is where it gets really tight. So they are so close. But it looks like Taylor was actually able to open that up just a little bit. So I am a little surprised to see that Siddall did not get past that time. But, that Siddall did not make the pass that time onto Garrett Taylor. But now he's got some company. We got Chris Brown right behind him, and Thomas Briggs also trying to become part of this party.
I was just about to mention, they have reeled in those other two drivers. Brown and Briggs have just been hanging back, waiting for this attempted pass by Siddall. But even then, not even an attempted pass yet to happen. And these two, Brown and Briggs, are slowly inching closer. So we have another quartet as we'll look at a replay here. And this looks to be Justin saying, I think the struggles only continue. He has fallen a lap down in 21st, and I think this is Blanchimont, another mistake. Yes, it is. Car gets loose, and instead of the inside wall, it's the outside tire barriers, and Sang with a hard hit. And boy, Michael, has this race gone south for Sang rather quickly. After that incident through Lacombe, it has gone downhill ever since, and Sang, unfortunately, going to have to deal with damage repair on pit road.
Yeah, that's going to pretty much do it for him. Any chances he thought of making it back up through the field, that just pretty much put a nail in that coffin. But now we're back on board with Dave Craig. Now, we saw Dave earlier, I believe it was with Greg Arado, and then once again with Paddy Patterson. But now he's back on to Paddy Patterson. Let's see if Craig and Patterson are going to have that crazy little fight they seemed to have earlier. I think this one keeps going back and forth between Gregorado, Patterson, and Craig, but Gregorado has been able to open up a gap. I think large part due to Craig putting such a strong pressure onto Patterson.
And it really changes the mindset of the driver, Michael, when you're on offense versus when you're on defense, because would you think that being more aggressive on offense, that's really the key to it, and then when you're on defense, you just kind of lose touch of the driver in front of you just because you're so worried about that rear view mirror?
I think that happens a lot in any case, whether you're focusing out the front or the rear. I know how to make a car pretty darn wide. I'm really good at making the car extremely wide. I just had somebody comment on that race the other night. Oh, and I think Dave Craig has gone around. If we can go back, he is at La Source. He went around at La Source. Oh, but we got a pass going on here. We got to see this. This is going to be Matthew Siddall for P6 right behind him. This is getting kind of crazy. That's going to be Chris Brown and Thomas Briggs. Oh, and Brown goes around. Was there contact there? I think there may have been contact. Brown went around. I couldn't tell if it was net code or if they actually made contact.
Looks like they actually did on that exit of Lacombe. Chris Brown just gets slightly tagged by Thomas Briggs. And we'll see what race control decides. We did see that incident, and I did notice it there with Dave Craig into La Source. We'll get a replay first of this three-way fight around P6. Brown and Briggs side by side. Very narrow portion of the track. Brown slides a little bit further up, and Briggs comes a little bit down. They both collect each other together, and it looks like Dave Craig now coming out of pit road from that incident in La Source. We'll see if we can get a look at that from our producer Ryan Bauer. Looks like here's Craig heading into La Source, and technically turn 19 here in this configuration of Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. And into the corner, dives it a little too deep on Patterson, knocks the rear end, and then goes around.
Yeah, it looked like he was expecting to go through there a little bit quicker, but had to add a little bit of brake to not run into the rear, but was unsuccessful. So the rear was already coming around there, just as he was getting right up on there. A little bit of an extra punch onto the brake, sends the rear end around, and then there was also contact with the car and the wall.
So tough there for Craig, who suffers the damage in La Source and will, as a result, fall back to 18th. We did see him come down to the pit lane. Here's a nice battle for P3. Last spot on the podium. Chris Pais, Derek Cyphers in their battle so far. We've mentioned Michael earlier in the show. Now with 32 minutes left, that Cyphers has been eyeing in on Pais lap after lap. The only thing he's missing is an attempted pass. He's been there, but he really hasn't been able to get the cigar fully up through our Rouge. A little more separation between the 14 and the 95, but no doubt Cyphers has been putting the pressure in that last time by just a little bit faster lap time wise. 2:19, 3:99.
So I will hopefully get a replay here. We had a really interesting pass. It was Siddall and Taylor, Garrett Taylor. So just coming out of La Source on that last lap, if we can take a look here. Take just a quick look here. Siddall coming down here, gets onto the binders, gets the nose around, but look at Siddall, just gets a little bit wider and takes a different arc through the corner. Now they're going to drag race all the way down the hill to get to Eau Rouge, gets around him, is able to hold on to it, And even now, going down the straightaway, better line from the trailing car of Taylor, still can't get around him though. So really interesting pass there. I don't know that I would have taken the pass, but it was kind of too easy to not take.
And that's true. It was a little bit of a risky call, but for Matthew Siddall, looks like it works. He's holding on to fifth. By the way, pass was complete for third. Derek Cyphers found a way around Chris Pais about a couple of corners ago, so Cyphers has now cleared that number 14 by roughly 0.8 of a second, and now we'll have to trek the around 7 seconds or so, or 5 seconds rather, if he wants to get by Trey Jonghorn, who's occupying second. Here's a look at how Cyphers did the pass on Pais. I think just took advantage of a mistake and just was way faster on his accord. Oh, Pahoon there, mistake by Pais, just wiggled the race car, and Cyphers said, I'm gonna move on through, excuse me, I'm on the way.
Yeah, that little wiggle will get it for you every time. But I think we need to put a message out to these guys to stop making really cool passes. Whoa! Stop making really cool passes when we're covering another battle. It looks like Garrett Taylor wants to get this pass back. Let's watch these guys. They're heading down to La Source right now. This is going to be possibly a good chance for a repass, because right now they're about 0.3 apart. They're coming off the corner. I think this is going to be too far off the tail of him, but he's still in a really good position to hold on to where he is and run some good lap times and save some fuel. So that's kind of an important point to have right now, is now that Garrett Taylor is behind Matthew Siddall, he has an opportunity to do a little bit of lifting coast. Speaking of saving fuel, looks like Mark Nister and Ryan Crowley both are coming in for their pit stops. This will be the beginning of our pit stop, or our intentional pit stop rotations.
Yeah, that's true. And now that we're officially halfway through the feature, now with around 29 minutes remaining, it's probably the best time for these guys to just cut this race in half. And they can go as far as, I think we talked about it right before we kicked off the show, around 40 minutes. So they can go pretty lengthy on this stint. It's just obviously a matter of decision and what feels better for the drivers, and obviously which ones want to just get over the pit stop as quickly as possible. Here's Ryan Cowley out of the Intermountain region. Love the VR setup on his car, Porsche 911 GT3R this evening, as he sits right behind Mark Nister. Both of them at around 1.5 seconds with each other. They're both sit 15th and 16th on the racetrack. But to your point about finding battles and then a battle happening as soon as we're covering a battle, it's kind of not like whack-a-mole, it's more like catch a pass. These drivers have been at it with these duos all over Spa tonight, and things have still not calmed down between Matthew Siddall and Garrett Taylor for fifth.
Yeah, and going back to that Nick Facciolo battle, there was a dive to the pit. So Nick Facciolo and Mark Nister were going at it absolutely hammering tongs. Now it looks like Nick Facciolo has stayed out. I expect he will probably try to just put down as many burner laps as he can. Racing against Nick many times, I know that he typically wants to run it until that last drop of fuel just before the car wants to sputter. So I expect Nick to stay out there, but he's got a little bit of a battle behind him. That's going to be Thomas Briggs right behind him. So, but Briggs has a black flag, which I would expect him to serve as soon as he can. I believe it's 3 laps they have to serve them. So watch for him to go diving into the pits on this lap.
Yeah, Briggs got the black flag via the contact with Chris Brown a couple of laps earlier, and so we'll watch whether Briggs will come down in pit lane, and the answer will be yes. Drifts off to the right underneath that white line, so that battle with Facciolo now completely rendered useless here as Briggs will go in for service. So serving the black flag, but also chance here at around halfway to get some fuel and some service, no doubt about it. So I guess things all work out in the end. Here's Derek Cyphers, still 5 seconds off of Trey Jonghorn for second, and then there's your race leader, now up by 7.5 seconds over Trey Jonghorn. Wyatt Gooden has really put himself in a league of his own, and Michael Johnson, if he can hold this lead, I know there's still a pit stop remaining, but if he can hold on to it, man, this would be an unbelievable way to take control of the championship heading for the next race.
I was in the exact position Wyatt is now, except it was a 992 Cup car, where we were racing at Spa and went up into very first lap, went up into Malmedy and the car into Lacombe, right between Lacombe and Malmedy, and there was contact directly behind me, and suddenly about, I don't know, 7-8 laps in, I suddenly realized, oh, I've got about a 7-8 second gap. And it was a 90-minute race, which being the only difference here. So yes, we had a pit stop, but we were running the tank absolutely dry and then going for more fuel. But yeah, I was able to run through and hold on to about a 7-8 second lap gap the whole time. So I know exactly what's going through Wyatt Goodwin's mind right now. Just watch out that front window, keep these laps just ticking off, don't make any differences, just hit every apex, do the exact same throttle as you did last time. Everything is going to be perfect.
Yeah, so it's about all maintaining a rhythm. Now, of course, we are still anticipating these leaders to come in for service. They do have to do it at least once before this race is over. There's a look at Gooden through the last corner, La Source, and obviously they'll be the entrance of pit road in just a couple of hundred of feet. Looks like Gooden not going to take it this time by, and we'll see if Drawhorn follows in the same track as he comes through La Source right now, and will charge toward the uphill section in Arouge and the Radillon. You see Derek Cypher is further back in third. We also do note that Dave Craig was given a black flag, much like Thomas Briggs, so he does have to take a trip down to pit road, and I believe he already has. So Craig out in 20th right now, as Derek Cyphers continues to try and pull away from Chris Bais, who really hasn't let him run away all too much, but the separation definitely a lot larger at this portion of the race, Michael, in the front. Around mid-pack is where you really start to see a lot of those passes happen. There's like a Pais, and also got word Jesse Lyon hitting the pit road from 10th.
Yeah, Jesse Lyon just went into pit lane. He is usually pretty good about his pit times. He's able to get in there pretty quickly, get his service done. Although that's interesting, it looks like he went up on the jacks to take tires. I guess he's going to take enough fuel where it won't matter. Because in these cars, you can take fuel and tires at the same time. Not all cars have that ability to do that. So in this car, he's going to be out there on some ice cold tires trying to make up some ground very quickly. So he needs to get heat in them as quickly as he can. That's going to be about a lap and a half. And as Jesse Lyon comes out, he's got a little bit of traffic. But meanwhile, we're watching Wyatt Gooden just sit way out front. That's going to be the near miss that we just watched. That's going to be Jesse Lyon there in the middle. Now this gives a little bit of help to that car behind. That would be Ryan Cowley. Ryan Cowley trying to catch up to Mark Nister. No, Nister is the one that they had no issue, but they were definitely getting close. And that puts Jesse Lyon in a good position. Now you see the effect of those cold tires as he swings just a little bit wide off the apex there. Now coming back around to No Name, got to get the power down as we head up. Is he going to get close enough here to get a pass going? Now, see, I'm watching from a racer's eye. So I have seen closing up at this point, coming through Double Gauche, that if you get a really good run, you have a great opportunity to pass as they come down into the next section at Le Fagnes. So this is tight. This is really good racing here. Notice how much he closed up there, though. He's probably taken about a third out of the gap that was between them.
Yeah, it's true. And also looking at the way this track is built, the way these drivers have driven it with these 911 GT3Rs is that you can easily swing momentum in your direction in a corner. So definitely with a really good point there, how Lyon can just close in on Nister like he's doing right now and going through Blanchimont here before they get to the final chicane. Lyon will have a chance if he gets close enough out of the chicane toward the main straight heading for La Source turn 19. Now Lyon, by the way, is in the middle of this sandwich of drivers who pitted first. Remember, Nister and Cowley both came in at around the same lap, so they pitted a couple of laps earlier than Lyon did. Exactly 2 laps in difference between these drivers and Lyon in the middle. And so Lyon will have fresher tires by just those 2 laps, which obviously matters at a track as big as this. And this might be a setup off of La Source. Nice run. We'll head up the hill through Arouge. Probably not the best place, Michael Johnson, to make a pass, but on the Kemmel Straight, that's basically the best place to go to the inside or outside and head for the Combs and Malmedy with a chance. Lyon with a beautiful run through Arouge, and here he comes.
Yeah, you can see right now Lyon's got a great run. Nice defensive move there from Nister. Nister tried to hold the middle of the track and then make that decision of where to go. Now he's going to tuck right in back behind Jesse Lyon as they almost make contact heading up in there. Wow, that was close. Lyon was pretty lucky to make it out of that one without a spin. So good on them. Good on everybody there for avoiding any contact. But wow, that was tight.
really close. Nister now with Cowley hot on his heels. Cowley looking to take over what's going to be 14th on the racetrack. Lyon did surge to 13th as a result of this 3-car battle. Let's look on board once again with Ryan Cowley of the Inter-Mountain region. And what a nice rebound it's been from 17th now up to 15th, and should gain some more positions if a couple more drivers head down the pit lane, although we are still missing a chunk of the drivers at the front of the field to come in. They've gone all 17 laps so far without any major issues. Closest battle that seems to be on track right now, and actually there's your leader, Wyatt Gooden, coming in.
Yeah, Wyatt Gooden deciding this is the right time. He's got the gap in front and the gap behind that he wants, so he's going to drop in there, as is Drawhorn. Drawhorn is also stopping in. But hey, before we get too far down the list of everybody going into the pits, I want to give a really nice shout out to Rich Minkler. Rich is up 12 positions. He is our hard charger so far this race, and actually he's probably going to pick up a few fake positions here, but realistically up 12. Nope, he actually goes into the pits, so he's going to hold on to that 12 positions up, it looks like. Nicely done. Wyatt Gooden coming out while Chris Pies has taken over the effective or the actual lead, but not the effective lead. So Chris Pies already heading around, looks like the upper part of the track, starting to work his way down through Bruxelles. I don't know that he's going to be able to make up that 7, 8, 9 seconds or whatever it was that Gooden had out in front of him. But with only about a 21-second gap on him now, I expect that to get closed up pretty quickly.
Yeah, it should, and with the way this pit delta is, it's fine. With what Chris Pies has to do when he comes down pit road, it's no surprise that Gooden will probably take over the lead once more in what appears to be an 11.5-second gap now, back to Trey Drawhorn in the 395. You brought up a great point there with Rich Minkler, who started 22nd. He was up to 9th at the highest, now falling back to 12th, but still a fantastic race for the Rocky Mountain region driver who finished 16th at Suzuka not too long ago. So this is definitely a really solid rebound for this number 3 machine, a very colorful one at that, with the Martini logo on the front of the GT3R, and Minkler doing a fantastic job. And one thing as well here, Michael, that it's very important about racing at a track like Spa, and even racing in these timed races overall, keeping the car clean. At some points, that's probably all you need to just gain positions. Keep that car out of trouble, just race your own race, and you'll probably got a couple positions and some points in the back.
Yeah, and I believe it is still true. We got a note from our producer just a moment ago that our top 3, that would have been Pies, Drawhorn, and Gooden, all sitting at 0 incident points. That is quite the feat here. They are 18, almost 19 laps into this. That is kind of crazy to be able to go that far. Wow, it's really, really nice to see that these guys up at the top, going as fast and hard as they are still able to make it. And there goes, that's Chris Pies going into pit lane. So he is probably going to come out in about 4th would be my guess.
It was about 20 seconds of difference between Pies and Gooden. Battle here between Jesse Lyons and Chris Brown. This is for 7th on the racetrack, and Lyon only continuing that front-to-back-to-front challenge that you mentioned earlier in this show, Michael. And so heading through the final chicane, and also catching up to Garrett Taylor too. So might just be a 3-car battle before this is all said and done. By the way, Gooden has already made his way by Chris Pies for the lead. Now, just a big question, where does the 14 come out? We do have Trey Drawhorn on the way, 3 seconds and counting down with that run up through our Rouge. Looks like pass for 2nd is complete, although Pies might come out in 3rd. So comfortable gain here by Pies, and is able to hold on to a podium spot as Wyatt Gooden pulls away by 11.5 seconds as here comes Derek Seifer for 3rd. A reminder that PCA Sim Racing social media offers in-race reports, breaking news, and announcements through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And to subscribe, you can hit the key in the platform name and add /PCA Sim Racing to learn more about PCA Sim Racing and all that they're doing on social media pages. We also do have to give a nod to Cameron Aubernon, our social media manager at Podium Esports. All the hard work that Cameron's putting in. Actually, contact around Lecombs. That's Garrett Taylor around.
Ooh, Garrett Taylor going around in that purple machine, or half purple machine. I'd like to see a replay on that, but that's going to give another position to Rich Minkler. But here, let's take a look as we watch these folks come down. There's a defensive position going up into the brake zone, and then comes around. Looks like he's coming around all on his own. And wow, I think that was Lyons. Did Lyons make it through that without any contact? wow, that's pretty amazing that he was able to get through that.
See it again. Here's from Lyon's perspective, side by side with Brown. They both split.
Woo, that's a Code Brown right there. He better have brought his Brown fire suit for that one.
And Brown was in that too, Chris Brown. So I guess the play on words of Brown continues on, but Garrett Taylor goes for a spin. And I think the first time as well, Michael, we see a mistake like that come out of the entrance of Lacombe. We haven't really seen that happen, and really the problems that have come out of those two corners have been contact between drivers, not just single car spins. Jesse Lyons looking on Mark Nister for 8th.
Yeah, this is going to be Lyons. He's tried to make this this push right here on other drivers. Watch as he comes in. That's a really nice run on the apex. Now look at that wiggly. Oh, getting super wiggly up there. Dives to the inside to make this pass. That's pretty crazy when you got another car that close in front of you. Had to kind of back out of it, but he's trying to display a little dominance here. This is just about dominance. I don't think he was actually expecting to make that pass. The one he wants to make is coming up right here, and I bet he's going to want to go for a twofer on this one, because look how close he is. He's almost pushing him through La Source, then gets the hammer down, heading down towards going to head down towards Eau Rouge. He is super tight up on him here. He's not going to get a twofer, but he's almost definitely going to get one.
He's probably going to get it through Lacombe. He's going to have the draft here on the back of the 11. And Lyon going to move up through 8th if he can make this pass complete. But actually, we'll pull the trigger. We're just going to push him now. Going to duck to the inside. So it just took a little while. Lyon's now going to the inside. Will he have the pass? Nister's going to give it up. So Lyon moves into 8th. And now we'll look ahead up the road, not too far away, is Nick Facciolo in the 717. And even further up the road, Chris Brown in the 258. So maybe just a reignited battle between Lyon and Brown once we get down to the final 14 or so minutes here from Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, on board with the Los Angeles region driver of Facciolo, who, by the way, at Suzuka came home in P9 and captured some really solid points off of that race. But now we'll look in the rearview mirror down to Pujon, and Jesse Lyon will be there.
Yeah, I think a little chink in the armor here for Nick Facciolo. He's going a little wide. He was also wide when they went through Bruxelles. I think we're about to see a pass attempt as we head, looks like trying to go around the outside, but thinks better of it. Now, this is a man on a mission. I think Jesse Lyon is looking at this opportunity going, no, I've worked really hard to work all the way back up here. I might have the speed on him, but I'm not going to make a foolish pass. I'm going to make the one that just shows up and works for me. As Nick Facciolo goes wide, is Jesse Lyon going to be able to make it around? Not quite yet, but they go into, wow, that's tight. I think we're going to see a pass as they come up here, though, into the bus stop.
Oh, a loose moment there from Facciolo. Drops those 2 spots, and here comes Nister on the hard braking zone through the final chicane. Oh, and that's so tough for Facciolo there. Just got caught up in the same place, Blanchimont, where so many other drivers have found trouble, where it can be so easy to get that car sideways and corrected it before it could get too disastrous. Facciolo, though, loses that fight for 7th and now has to drop to 10th. Here's a look from Matthew Siddall on the final chicane.
Yeah, Matthew Siddall right here coming through the final chicane, puts some power down and just comes around a little bit too early. That's really tough. Too much wheel input at that point. And here we see Nick Facciolo trying to come back around. Now on board just gets a little bit too wide. And now there's also been a bit of radio chatter between Nister and Lyon. So I haven't been able to quite tell what they've been saying, but I'm not sure if it was nice or if it was snarky. So I'll try to take a little closer listen next time they start talking.
There's another look there from Facciolo. Slight mistake through Blanchimont, just a little bit sideways, corrected that car. And like we said, has fallen back to 10th and now around 2 seconds behind next car in line. Of course, the 2 machine of Ryan Cowley. Let's look back up to the front. Wyatt Gooden still in control of this race. And what I have noticed just a little bit, Michael, is that the gap for the lead is closed down just a little bit by a couple of tenths. Trey Drawhorn was about 11.5 seconds off of Gooden. Now it's down to about 10.8. And while that progress probably isn't enough to guarantee Drawhorn a chance at the race win in the final 11.5 minutes, it is somewhat decent progress, and Drawhorn was a little bit faster by about a 10th last time by.
Yeah, I think Gooden realizes that as long as Drawhorn is not making up a second a lap, he's going to be fine. Or sorry, a second a minute. he's going to be fine. That's going to be about 2 seconds a lap. So I don't think he's got too much to worry about. I think Drawhorn is just trying to ensure that he holds on to P2 over Cypher. Cypher's is still about 4.5 seconds off of him and running some pretty good laps, right around the same pace. All three of our top four, all three of our top four are right around that mid 218 on their last lap. So I would expect they're going to be working pretty close.
And speaking of close, there's still the close battle between Ryan Cowley and Mark Nister. Once again, looking on that VR setup of Cowley. I just always respect the drivers that always have the VR setups because I've tried it before. It does feel a little disorienting at times, but for the drivers that make it work and are able to efficiently use it in their driving on iRacing, it is so cool to see how they're able to put their setups together, and obviously the vantage point that they have with the way they're able to turn their head and get a little bit of a look around the cockpit and around their surroundings as Cowley trying to grab some draft here on Nister going up through Al Rouge, but so far no issues on passing or anything between those two. They're going to just maintain single file. Close battle possibly for third. Remember Chris Pais, he exited fourth behind Derek Cyphers. Well, they're back again together. Michael Johnson, we might have another duo battle.
I was expecting this to happen. Now, I've raced many times, as I've said, with Chris. I know how good he is, and I know how patient he is. So when he came out, he was still on cold tires. Derek Cyphers had really warm tires and was able to get around him, and Chris just let him go, knowing that his tires were going to come to him. But watch Chris as he just nicks away little bits at a time. So I think we'll see something from Chris here. But before, I want to say a quick shout out to Mark Rondeau. Thanks for listening, bud. Love to have you on there. Looking forward to a good race with you later tonight. Hopefully you'll join.
So Pais still within about 0.7 of a second on Cyphers. So we'll keep an eye on this battle. But so far, really nothing crazy between either of the two. And I believe they're somewhat the closest battle on the racetrack as far as I'm concerned. The only closer battle that I'm noticing is between Nister and Cowley, who we've already touched on in that fight for 8th. Still undecided between those two. Nister holding on to that spot for the moment. All the while, now gap has grown again. 11 seconds between Wyatt Gooden and Trey Drawhorn as Drawhorn now comes out through the final chicane. Gooden going through La Source and into the final 4 or so laps here from Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. It's looking like Gooden's race to lose as Pais closes in on Cyphers coming out of the chicane, looking for the main straightaway, and there's Gooden crossing the line.
Yeah, the only thing that could happen to Gooden is he just loses focus, loses concentration. I think he's actually a really good driver. I don't expect to see anything like that from him. That being said, the commentator's curse hit last night. Let's hope it doesn't hit tonight, because Wyatt, dude, you're doing such a beautiful job. Keep doing it. I promise this is not a curse.
Oh, you don't have to tell me about the commentator's curse twice. I've already seen my fair share of horrendous moments calling a race, and all of a sudden the opposite happens and I curse the driver that's doing so well. But it looks like Wyatt Gooden's still ahead, and like we talked about at the top of the show, really before we went live, Gooden is an 8,000 iRating driver, 8,059, and he is still, according to our producer Ryan Bauer, still one of the 3 cars that's left with a 0x. So has found absolutely no off tracks nor any mistakes here at Spa. The only other 2 drivers, this one right here, Derek Cyphers, and then the car back in P11, Rich Minkler, again, our biggest mover after starting in 20 seconds. So these drivers have done a fantastic job, and again, goes back to my point about just keeping the car on the track, maintaining consistency, and then it'll take you from there. Now a battle for P6. Chris Brown looking at Jesse Lyon behind him.
Yeah, that's not a sight you want to see in your mirror tonight, because boy, is Jesse on a charge. He is just on a mission here. Look how close he's getting up underneath Chris Brown's wing. He's almost pushing him as they come up. Oh, that's a little bit tight. Takes him a bit offline. That's actually a decent move. He did not make contact, but he got his nose in there pretty far. It is really a great opportunity to take Chris Brown out of that synchronization, like your timing. You know when you want to brake, you know when you want to turn, but suddenly someone is there. Man, that makes it tough. But look how close they are. This is Jesse Lyon trying to just put as much pressure on Chris Brown as he possibly can. But you know what? I think this is setting up for a pass going into the bus stop.
Yeah, most likely they're going to go through Blanchimont here, and he'll have the draft on behalf of the 258. By the way, they're also not too far away from Matthew Siddall, who's holding on to P5, so may see a 3-car train build up rather soon. Lions building up for the braking zone. Not going to take the attempted pass, though. Going to stick behind Brown and might just set up for either Eau Rouge or the Camel Straight. That's probably a thing, Michael, that you definitely know well as a driver, is setting up your pass way in advance. You're probably not thinking directly about that corner right then, right now, but if you're in a situation like Lion, you're probably thinking 3, 4, or even 5 corners ahead, where you know if you stay where you're at, you can make that pass complete, no doubt.
Yeah, I think coming out of Blanchimont, he knew that he was going to have the opportunity here, and he may have even backed out of that run into the bus stop just a little bit, because look at this. He is closing up as they head around Radillon, coming down the Camel Straight through the Camel Kink or Bend. And then, wow, just that extra 2-3 miles per hour that he's going to get here. I expect to watch him pop the nose out about now. Yep, there we go. Right under braking, gets the nose in, holds it right up onto the curbing. But Chris Brown is saying, no, this is my corner. But Jesse Lyon goes, no, bud, you're wrong. This is my corner. Thank you very much, as he makes his way around as they head down towards Bruxelles.
And that's a textbook pass and a dangerous one by Lyon in Lacombe, where we've seen so many drivers make contact tonight here at Spa, but Lyon has made it work, and the 115 is up to P6. Remember that fight between Nister and Cowley? Now it's starting to heat up with 4.5 minutes left. On board with Cowley.
Yeah, sitting here on board with Cowley, taking a look. Wow, this is starting to really get exciting. They are only about 0.3 apart. See, and a different line as they go through Dublagoche. Look how wide that went out there. So now we're going to watch as, getting down to the apex. They have a different path to get down there. Neither one is right, neither one is wrong. But I got to say, Cowley is a little bit wide on that last little bit of the of that combination there. But as we come down here, we're about to go through Pouhon. Now, Pouhon is really critical. You've got to get the exact launch you want off of that corner to get down here to Blanchimont properly and get that little speed. Now, they have closed up just a little bit, trying to come through there using everything. But you know what? I think he's just trying to take it a little bit chill this time. He doesn't want the pass here, but I think he's trying to do what we saw Lyon do, is stick a little bit closer. I think he needs to be closer than he is, but I think he wanted to be a bit closer here to try to make that pass going down right here where we see Chris Pies. Now, Chris has a beautiful setup, good launch coming out of the corner. He is running up on Derek Cyphers. I think Chris is really making a hard play for that last step of the podium. Now, Cyphers is holding to the right side. Chris will pop out to the left about here. Can he finish this pass? Not enough momentum to get around, but he has made his presence known. This is getting into his head. Now look at that. He's going a little bit wide to the right side. He is just trying to fill up the mirrors right now. I think Chris is actually the faster driver between these two right now. He wasn't earlier, but right now Chris is just cool as a cucumber. He is holding on to this position. He is filling up the mirrors. He's going from the left mirror to the right mirror, then sticking right up under the wing, and then back to the left mirror, back to the right mirror, trying to just unsettle Cyphers.
And as the fuel burns off, these cars are only going to get faster and faster as Jesse Lyons looks on the next car line. Matthew Siddall is already caught up to V5. So every time we look at Jesse Lyon on the racetrack, he's around somebody and he's possibly making a pass, which is absolutely insane. And this recovery by Lyon after the contact and getting sent to the rear of the field after that first lap contact in the comb. And Lyon's still there on the back bumper of that 55. We'll keep an eye on that. Just like we were watching there with Pais and Cyphers, who, by the way, none of them have been able to get one upper hand over the other. And so Lyon right on the rear bumper here and heading through the final couple of corners before we get to Stavelot and then Blanchimont. The high-speed corners before the bus stop, the final chicane. Here at Spa, Lyon is right on the rear bumper. It's just a matter of time before this 115 makes this pass out of Stavelot. Possible chance here at Blanchimont.
Yep, they are going to come down here. They are working. Look at how close he is. Now, nothing against Chris and Derek, but I kind of want to see Jesse get all the way to the podium. That would be a story, and you're going to have a great opportunity to talk to him after the race if that happens. But look at that. Oh, he goes way wide, and looks like Lion is trying to put some more pressure on. There's pressure behind from Chris Brown as well, but Lion gets around. He gets around him, and Chris Brown also gets around.
Chris Brown moves through to P6, and Lion tries to strengthen his way to 5th and does so, flexes the muscle through the bus stop, and the 115, despite a heavy braking dive, gets around Matthew Siddall, and Siddall loses 2 spots in the matter of 1 corner, drops to 7th with about a minute left in this race. Clutch move by Brown and Lion as they move up to 5th and 6th, some extra points.
Now, just an interesting note, Lion started in P5 and then went all the way to the back from that incident in the first lap and has worked all the way back to P5. So I think now that we are only about half a minute left in this race, he's ready to start his race.
And what a job Lion has been able to do throughout this race. Brown still not letting him run away, though neither is Matthew Siddall. So this 3-way fight for P5 could be decided in the last couple of corners. Meanwhile, Wyatt Gooden, this is the last lap inside the final 20 seconds. Gooden, by the way, up by 10.9 seconds. There he is. Out of the Maverick region, Gooden has absolutely dominated this race from Spa, and it looks like as he comes through Stavelov for the final time and into Blanchimont and the bus stop, and then through La Source, it looks like Gooden has this win in the bag without a problem and never got phased by the pit road stops or anything else, any other factor in the way. Gooden going to come away with this win here in PCA Sim Racing Series 10 in the Pro Class from Belgium. We'll come through the final 2 corners. This will be the final 3. As we continue to watch that battle, Jesse Lyons still defending nicely for 5th. They have all separated around 5th, 6th, and 7th. But Wyatt Gooden has dominated this race from start to finish, took the lead on lap 1, and never looked back. And through the final corner, it will be a championship overtake for Wyatt Gooden. Will take control of the championship with a win at Spa.
It looks like we're going to see Trey Drawhorn, but we got to go back to Chris Pies. Chris is really pushing hard to catch up. He was under a 1/10 of a second. That's going to be Trey Drawhorn going across the finish line there. But Chris Pies in P4, not quite able to bring it to Derek Cyphers. Derek Cyphers is going to make the final step of the podium there. I think he's probably sweating buckets at this point.
That's true, but solid defense by Cyphers and also great offense near the end by Jesse Lyon, who holds off Chris Brown and will take P5. And of course, snake trailing down to the front straight right before our Rouge, and Jesse Lyons comes home with the top 5. There's Chris Brown, Matthew Siddall. Nice side-by-side battle. I think that's Facciolo. No, that is Ryan Cowley. Slow off the final corner. Did he run out of fuel?
He may have. Looks like he's just kind of trying to hold that clutch in and roll down the hill. Loses another position as Enrico Gregorato goes by him. Can he make it to the finish line before anybody else gets by him? Yeah, looks like Patty Patterson is just a little bit too far back.
And Cowley drops all the way back to 12th. Here's Dale Green in a pack of cars. Robert Rose leading this group. They're side by side in the bus stop. Make that Andy Jenks looking underneath Dave Craig. 4-car train, not fully decided yet, off of the bus stop and through La Source. The final corner here at Spa. One more opportunity for Craig and company to make moves happen. Can they do it in the braking zone? Craig looks underneath. Can't find the momentum nor the success, and it looks like the top 4 in this group. Starting with 15th place Roses. Craig goes around for a spin. Will maintain the same. Craig hard into the wall, but will come home in 18th.
Ooh, that was a frustrating spin there at the end, but that is going to lead us into a short break.
So it looks like we will take a break for PCA Sim Racing Series 10 action in the Pro Class here from Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Wyatt Gooden, the race winner. We'll talk to your top 3 and get through all the post-race coverage and the unofficial results before we wrap things up on Podium Esports. Don't go anywhere. More from Spa on the other side.
little earlier if that's going to be the case. He's actually got a nose ahead as they come down into the braking zone. He's going to do it the hard way.
If you're a Porsche owner looking for reliable, convenient service without leaving the comfort of your home or office, look no further and take advantage of the Exchange at Home complimentary pickup and drop-off service exclusively at the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. At the Porsche Exchange, it's all about creating a legendary ownership experience that embodies our guest lifestyle. Our Porsche service team utilizes cutting-edge technology that delivers a transparent service visit and keeps us in constant contact with our guests. And I can't think of anyone more qualified to work on your Porsche, new or classic, than our Porsche certified technicians. Whether you're a longtime guest or new to our dealership, I welcome you to experience legendary at the Porsche Exchange.
Back from Circuit de Spa, Francorchamps, where Whitegooden takes over the race win here in the Pro Class for Series 10 of PCA Sim Racing. Here are your unofficial race results. Whitegooden the winner by 12.4 seconds over Trey Jawhorn, and Gooden with this win officially takes control of the championship heading for the next round. Derek Cyphers closes out the top three. We'll talk to all of them before we wrap up our coverage on Podium Esports. Chris Price comes home in fourth. Jesse Lyons to wrap up the top five in the 115 car. A magnificent comeback from the opening lap problems that sent him to the rear of the field. Chris Brown is P6. Matthew Siddall to come home in 7th in the 55. Mark Nister with a great run in 8th. 9th will go to Nick Paciolo, and rounding out the top 10, Michael Johnson, the largest mover of tonight's race, Rich Minkler, who started 22nd.
Yeah, great move there by Rich Minkler. Enrico Gregorato getting a last corner, last stretch pass right there on Ryan Crowley, who apparently ran out of fuel to bring in P12. Paddy Patterson in 13th. Thomas Briggs having a little bit of trouble through the race, but still turning some pretty impressive laps through there. Robert Rose, Dale Green, Andy Jinks. Wow, what a battle these guys had at the end there. Dave Craig also was part of that. Nick Melorano, and then Garrett Taylor ending up 2 laps down in P20. 21st was Justin Tank, 16 laps down. We're going to have a DNF there, and with Leif Peterson and James Franznik.
That concludes your 23-car field here from Circuit de Spa Francorchamps, and we have the driver who takes this win tonight with us this evening, Wyatt Gooden out of the Maverick region, who started second, took the lead on lap 1, and it looked like it was never a race after that. Wyatt, I have to imagine that this win feels so good, especially knowing with the fact that you had really no one around you all race long. It was all you and the racetrack, and you were able to take care of business. How does it feel?
Yeah, it feels great. Yeah, after the first, I hated to see that first lap crash. I wanted to see Leaf do well. He had a good chance. He was legitimately fast, and I know he had a good qual lap. But anyway, yeah, that was a little easier than the last race. This race, I was a little bit more focused and could just kind of get into a groove and just enjoy driving Spa. That was fun.
Definitely was a lot of fun, for sure, behind the wheel of your Porsche 911 GT3R, but I have to imagine that the good feeling also transcends into the points championship, because going into tonight's race, you and Trey Jawhorn were tied for most points at 385. Now with this win, you should have the points lead going into the next race. So how much momentum does that give you moving forward now that you got control of P1 in the standings?
Yeah, it's great to get another win in. I never know when I can make these races, and lately my schedule's been working out, so I wasn't really planning on running the season, but yeah, and Trey's super consistent, and he's really good in all these cars, so he's, if he keeps finishing second, or maybe I finish second and he wins again, it seems like it's championship could be open still.
And give us a perspective on your side here about that championship fight between you and Jawhorn as we head into Interlagos in Brazil. What are your thoughts about that, and how the championship will progress as you guys go back into the GT4 Club Sport?
Yeah, I like the GT4. It's just a completely different style of driving required than the GT3R, and it's just fun to figure out different cars. That's what I enjoy most. And Interlagos is a great track. Good track for racing. You got good passing zones there, straightaways, and really good corners. Just an enjoyable track to drive.
Well, it was enjoyable watching you out on track tonight in a dominating win here from Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. On behalf of our entire Podium Esports team, Wyatt, congratulations on the win here from Spa, and wishing you the best of luck in just a couple of weeks from Interlagos.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for broadcasting.
So that's Wyatt Gooden. The one car in P1 ends up with the win here in Belgium. We'll take a moment to talk with the driver who comes home in P2. Michael Johnson, you're caught up with Trey Drawhorn out of the Chicago region.
Indeed, I have, Trey. I think we kind of had the similar thing happen on last night's race. Looked sort of like a Sunday drive for you. You were just kind of, after that first lap incident, getting by. You started off P4, made up 2 positions pretty much immediately, and then you just kind of drove for a while. How did the race work for you?
Yeah, that was kind of like a similar situation as to last week's race. I just kind of made sure to avoid that first off, and then just kind of run my race. I knew that Wyatt was going to be quick, and he already broke into draft, so I was just like, okay, well, this might be either a tires race. Whoever has the best tires the last few laps, see who can push out the best times.
So was there ever any fear that Derek or Chris were going to be able to close it up on you, or did you feel they were just going to go at it too hard to be able to come anywhere near you?
I think they were going to fight. My goal after the incident that happened in front of me was to just break the gap. I had the pace to break the gap and break the draft, so I was just kind of like, okay, I either try to maintain the gap and then do whatever I can to extend it. And if I can't, that's fine. Just keep the gap over 2 seconds. That's the goal.
So changing cars and dramatically, and to say it lightly, because the GT3 and the GT4, big differences in the car, and then track as well. I mean, you're going from Spa, which is long stretches of really put the hammer down and super tight little sections in between those, to the never-ending back and forth of Interlagos. So what are your thoughts on the next race?
I'm not sure, honestly. The last time I did the GT4, the series, I didn't do too well. So I'm gonna try my best. Hope for maybe like a top 10. But just gotta put in the work, the practice, and do all that.
I think we might have the same spirit animal, because I'm kind of the same way with the GT4. I want to love it. It just doesn't work for me in iRacing. So, but hey, great race today, though. I mean, you were able to pull out a nice podium that puts you P2 in the overall standings. But I don't know that you're going to stay there for long. But of course, there's always somebody to thank, friends, family, and everybody. So who do you have to thank for today's podium?
I mean, friends, family, of course, especially Michael Kolich. He really helped me this week in getting ready for this race. Porsche Exchange, they do an amazing job, very professional. You guys, PCA itself, PCA Sim Racing, and then my team, Axiom, and then Geo. Thank you, all you guys.
Well, thank you, Trey. Folks, that was Trey Drawhorn, our second place finisher. But right now, it looks like we've got our third place finisher ready for interview, Derek Cyphers.
Yes, sir. We do have Derek Cyphers here with us, driver who comes home in third from Spa. And Derek, I have to imagine it was a lot of fun. You were in some battles of your own. You were around a good chunk of drivers in this race, and then that final battle with Chris Price. What was it like to drive Spa around the competition, and even just with this GT3R itself?
Yeah, it was a good result. Always tough in pro class. These drivers are just ridiculously good, and came into the night not doing a ton of practice. Wasn't even sure I was going to make the race, so I'm pretty thrilled. It was a good battle pretty much all race long with Chris, which is always tough.
And of course, through Suzuka, you were unfortunately not in that race, but to come back here at Spawn to be able to put up this top 3 effort, how does it feel? Does it feel very good to have as solid of a race as you had, and obviously to go with, I think, 0x on behalf of our our producer up until the very end. So how good does that feel now getting this podium?
Yeah, it feels great. I mean, my only other podium in pro was a win at Red Bull Ring last series. So I was kind of anxious to see if I could prove I could do it again. So it feels great. And yeah, for the first sort of 30 or 40 minutes, I was just really trying to keep that 0x and not make any mistakes, and managed to do it. And then, when you've got Chris Pies in your mirrors, you start to get a little anxious and maybe make a few mistakes. I missed a mark or two. And on that last lap, I had the car sliding everywhere, and it was everything I could do just to sort of calm it down and make sure I didn't lose it in the very end.
Well, you were able to hold on to a top 3 spot at the end of the race, even despite Chris Pais' pressure in those final laps. Now we head to Interlagos with the GT4 Club Sport. Your thoughts on that, expectations on that race in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, we'll see if I can make it. I actually really like the GT4. It's probably one of my best cars, but I don't know. These guys are so good. Wyatt and Trey are just like at another level right now. So yeah, happy to just come out and have fun. It's a great crew to race with. That's the best part of it. And just a shout out to all my teammates and marginally above average sim racers for sort of helping us all get better.
Well, Derek, we certainly appreciate the time off of our broadcast team. We'd like to congratulate you on the P3 effort here from Spa, and hoping to see you at Interlagos in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, guys.
That's Derek Cyphers in the number 95 coming home in P3 tonight for PCA Sim Racing Series 10 Pro Class action from Belgium. Well, Michael, what a race it was, and we'll turn you over to Jesse Lyon, who you have caught up with, who came home from 5th and with an outstanding comeback in this race.
Yeah, it was. I'm going to go a little Superman, 80s Superman movie with Lois Lane. So, Jesse, you started off P5 and you ended P5. Anything happened during the race that you'd like to talk about?
Well, the beginning incident with Leaf was definitely an unsettling bit. It was really unfortunate because I had to wait for all the cars to pass just because it was the opening lap. So, exiting lap 1, I was 22nd.
Yes, you were. That was quite the comeback. I gotta say, that was an impressive drive. You took probably most of the coverage of this race as you just sliced your way through traffic. Not everyone just bending to your will. You had to fight for a couple of those because they had battles going on too. How did that work out for you?
Yeah, so there were a couple of cars that gave me position, but there were several more that didn't let me have it. And after the incident, I was really bummed out. I wasn't sure what to do next, but I thought I'd put down some laps, and then I just zoned out and kept climbing up. And then after the pit stop, I realized how close I was to the top 5. And I was like, let's see how far I can push it. So I ended up catching up to 5th place, even after avoiding Garrett, who spun right in front of me after the big straight.
Yeah, that was exciting. I mean, we did have a lot of coverage for you through the whole race. I mean, every time we turned around, you were coming up on another car. We would see you pass somebody, we'd cover it, and then we go cover something else, and then it's like, oh wait, we got to come back to Jesse Lyon. Looks like he's making another pass here. So, are you going to be able to do the same thing? I mean, do you have the same kind of feel when it comes to the GT4 or with Interlagos?
Yeah, the GT4 was actually the best car I've had so far, and I didn't think I would because I didn't like the GT4. But after VIR, I really got to hang with it, and I made it a goal to at least get a podium, and last 2 races I've been right behind podium, so I've been really trying to push for a podium. And yeah, after today, when I got up to 5th, the top runners were about 16 seconds, so I feel like I could have held with all of them for a while if that incident didn't happen. So I'm going to keep trying every single race just to get a podium or win. Winning's better. I'll do that too.
So front to back to front, quite a feat. Who do you have to thank for that amazing feat today?
I have to thank my parents and my wife, Satellite Racing especially, because they fostered me to where I am today in my driving abilities, and also to Robbie Prescott and Daniel Nix, because they've been close friends that have been keeping me interested in iRacing during my downtime. And yeah, that's pretty much everyone.
That would be our hard charger there, Jesse Lyon. I'm going to toss this back though to Kenneth for the end notes of this race.
Yeah, what a race from Jesse Lyon. What a race from everybody. It's ball. I don't think, Michael, that we've seen a race as competitive as this one. I mean, there have been so many competitive races. I mean, think about yesterday, the last lap pass with the win. Well, we didn't have that tonight. So many battles on the racetrack. So much fun. And really everybody putting their best effort. A lot of great fights, even for third, for fifth. Jesse Lyon with his comeback story, and of course Wyatt Gooden with his control of the championship here in Series 10. If you want to have more PCA sim racing action, you can join us here again Wednesday night on May 3rd at 9:25 p.m. Eastern for the sport class. It'll be right here, same place, here at Circuit de Spa Francorchamps, so you won't miss any of the Belgium racing action that we'll have for you still on Podium Esports. We'd like to thank our sponsors for Series 10 and all of their unwavering support, the Porsche Exchange and Six Sigma Sim Racing, the sponsor of our Clean Driver Award. A big thank you to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, for everyone at Podium Esports, for Gary Sexton and John Theodore, our producer tonight, Ryan Bauer, our social media manager, Cameron Albernon, our camera creator, Dougie Beard, and of course, my broadcast partner in the booth tonight, Michael Johnson. My name is Kenneth Bueno, saying thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing Series 10 Pro Class Action. We'll see you at Interlagos in a couple of weeks' time.